The mysteries of Antarctica. Did alien spacecraft once light up the sky over the windswept world of Antarctica? Did ancient people walk the land, build magnificent structures, and pass down legends through time? Do the empty miles of snow and ice hide secrets that are just now coming to light? Scientists now visit Antarctica to find clues to our planet's past that happened before humankind began to affect its natural flow. Others seek answers to the mysterious questions that surround this frozen continent. Antarctica evidence now suggests humankind was affecting the planet long before previously thought. With cold and harsh weather most of the year, unearthing these answers is a challenge most cannot conquer. The unexplained mysteries remained, but an ever-increasing group of enthusiasts reveal information that support their research. This documentary will reveal the most intriguing things hidden in the icy Antarctica continent. The case for Atlantis as Antarctica. For as far back as humankind records go, historians, scientists, philosophers, and others have debated the existence and location of the lost city of Atlantis. As years go by, new evidence of ancient civilizations crop up here and there around the globe, and the comparisons begin again. Now, as the vast, supposedly empty wilderness of Antarctica is better explored, new possibilities emerge. Back in the 1950s, one Professor Charles A. Hapgood, an expert in American historical studies, theorized that the frozen continent to the south may have contained an ancient civilization shrouded in mystery. Part of his confidence of Antarctica being more accessible in the past stems from early maps created in the 1500s that clearly show the coastlines and landmass of Antarctica hundreds of years before its discovery by James Cook in 1773. Many cite the Antarctica maps as the best evidence of a lost ancient culture. We can see this aspect in the U.S. Naval Antarctic projection of the world as seen from Antarctica. Notice that all the oceans we know today, the Atlantic, the Indian, the Pacific, are just one ocean. Oceanographers recognize that the planet has one world ocean. This is a geographic fact, and it's a fact that's recorded in Plato's account of Atlantis and Plato. Plato's account tells us that the Earth contains a vast island continent, the approximate size of Antarctica, albeit amazing. He further delivers a significant clue. He tells us that the Atlantis island continent was high above sea level, another confirmed fact of Antarctica. Antarctica is by far the highest altitude continent on our planet. We know the Egyptian priests spoke to Solon about Atlantis in language he could understand. This detailed account of the Atlantean world was from the perspective of somebody standing on the shores of Atlantis, stating the obvious. Antarctica that you see depicted in this modern U.S. naval view is based upon the current sea level, not the 9,600 BC level. Furthermore, Atlantis did not actually sink beneath the waves. A culmination of melting ice caps creating a rising ocean level masks some of the continent. There are distortions in the modern map compared to older source maps, of which are numerous, most notably the notorious Piri-Reis map, 1513, the Franco-Roselli map, 1508, in the Maritime Museum, London, the Philippe Bouch map of 1739, and the Orontius-Phineas map of 1532. Accounting for the Antarctic ice sheet today, this immense blanket of snow and ice has depressed parts of the continent, causing more and more land to fall beneath the ocean level. The maps, with their size, shape, scale, and position, could easily depict an ice-free Antarctica. Although Antarctica is said to be under ice for 50 to 60 million years, taking Plato's account with the ancient maps seems the question of time, and the age of the Antarctic ice cap is an open rather than closed question. In 1990, a mere 250 miles from the south, geologists found the frozen remains of a forest that was later dated to be 2 or 3 million years old.
Two geologists at UW-Milwaukee uncover an ancient forest of fossils in Antarctica.
Scientists discovered evidence of an ancient forest in Antarctica.
Looking into the evolution of life, the group came across Antarctica's fossil forests.
Scientists from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee found 13 fragile tree fossils dating back 260 million years ago.
Clearly, the ice mechanism in Antarctica is completely misunderstood. Added to this mystery with more contradiction is the snowfall patterns. In this polar Antarctic region, we've got the area of greatest ice, but it has the least amount of snowfall, while the area of least ice in the rest of Antarctica receives the most snowfall. Current snowfall patterns cannot produce the ice sheet we have today. Putting it bluntly, the greatest ice sheet in the world does not have snow falling upon it. The ancient maps not only clearly exist, but provide answers to all the contradictions in one swoop. The sophisticated Piri-Reis map showed that in 1513 it contained at least 24 points that were accurate within a half a degree of longitude. European explorers couldn't achieve this level of accuracy until the 1770s, during Captain Cook's famous voyages. In addition, the southern portion of the map depicts the subglacial features of Antarctica. Subglacial Bimini is also depicted on the map. It's the accuracy combined with the Antarctic revelation that makes this map so exciting. Hapgood's book, Maps of the Ancient Sea Kings, remains the seminal work on ancient cartography. Hapgood's lesser-known book, Path of the Pole, provided a mechanism to resolve all the enigmas that were haunting cartography researchers. His Earth crust displacement theory could not only explain a temperate lesser Antarctica around Plato's time of 9600 BC, but also move towards a fundamental comprehension of other scientific problems. Albert Einstein had written a glowing foreword to the first edition of the book, yet scientists refused to look at any of the evidence, including contradictory core samples, proving Hapgood right. The N2 core samples prove rivers with fine sediment once flowed on the continent. Earth crust displacement is a movement of the entire lithosphere or crust over the asthenosphere. The continents aren't moving in relation to each other, it's the whole crust moving relative to the Earth's axis, which remains stable. The proverbial skin on an orange analogy is often purported to describe this theory. Not to mention the earthquakes and massive tidal waves generate extreme flooding. There's the mechanism of warmer climates being shoved into polar zones rapidly and vice versa. Opposite on the globe to Antarctica, the Siberian region shows a well-known phenomena of frozen woolly mammoths that were flash frozen, with fresh vegetation in their bellies. They often become exposed during thawing today and offered up for science. If an Earth crust displacement occurs of 1,000 miles or so, all living creatures must adapt, migrate, or die. If it's polar, icy, or tundra land mammals could not migrate 1,000 miles so rapidly. Other researchers embellish the idea that a thriving civilization could have existed thousands of years ago in such harsh weather conditions and at such low temperatures. Some surmise that these advanced people must be descendants of alien visitors, or had help from other worldly beings to construct and develop the world they lived in. Whether underground facilities, caverns, and bases for protection, these types of alien seeding or alien assistance tales appear all over the globe when it comes to processing the idea of ancient advanced civilizations. Darren Kuya Underground City in Turkey is a fine example of such a notion. Estimates of 20,000 inhabitants are reasonable, yet nobody knows how they engineered such an advanced living space underground, or why. Vertical precision cut air shafts in a 5-story underground complex. Antarctica is no different, with reports of huge openings and caverns that offer protection. The idea of regular people in a relatively advanced civilization seems almost as difficult to believe. Could early humans create thriving communities in places so remote and uninhabitable? However, when the idea of Atlantis down there is combined with another scientific theory of crustal displacement, the possibility becomes more probable. An iceless Antarctica allows for the possibility of grand civilizations to emerge and flourish long ago. Supporters of this theory suggest that Atlantis was located directly at the South Pole. As many ancient peoples build important buildings based on geography, sun position, and similar things, it makes sense that such an important city was centered on the pole itself. Plato's diagram of concentric circles may support this idea. Now, modern technology assists with the search for the lost city of Atlantis. As satellites soar overhead, they've taken many pictures of the ice-covered continent. Amidst the snowy landscape, some very unusual and unexpected formations have appeared. Under the ice and in some spots protruding above it, massive structures that seem to be built by man rather than the whims of nature show up. Interest in undiscovered mysteries and unusual happenings are on the rise, and an outbreak of photos and evidence add credence to this hypothesis that Atlantis existed in Antarctica many ages ago. Let us now take a look at the anomalies and structures there. The pyramids of Antarctica. All around the globe, ancient civilizations built pyramids as temples, power centers, and other structures of importance. The appearance of pyramids on Antarctica, although it causes quite a stir among the community, shouldn't be a surprise if the rest of the world is to go by. It should be expected. Authors and other curious researchers seek out the secrets buried under the frozen continent's ice. Now, groundbreaking research has come up with numerous plausible theories about the people who might have lived there before the continent was covered by snow and ice. With the current popularity of global imaging systems such as Google Earth and satellite pictures, people have actually located what appears to be huge artificial structures down there. The dimensions and symmetry have people comparing them to the famous Egyptian pyramids in Giza. Unlike natural formations, these are said to appear too precise to be mere chance. The discovery of these pyramids and the supposition that they are not natural formations astounds scientists and historians. Conventional historical literature never said anything about civilizations living on Antarctica, so some people have trouble even considering the possibility. For those who are open-minded to the possibility of ancient peoples or alien intervention in our world's history, the pyramid's geometry clearly seen through the snow are indications of a great and secret civilization that once thrived on the continent. When you take the evidence of the Piri Reis map discovered in 1929, created by a Turkish officer famed for his cartographic skills from other earlier source maps, accepting a culture on ice-free Antarctica becomes a lot easier. Evidence on the Orontius Phineas example shows zero ice on the southern continent, instead showing rivers and lakes that have now only been seen by satellite imagery. Who originally made these charts and pyramids? How did they get to Antarctica and explore it many, many years before its official discovery? Were they the same people who built the mysterious pyramids as temples or tombs for the people in their thriving civilizations? Were they in Antarctica first, then spread to the rest of the world? The inaccessibility of the surrounding area and the Gamburtsev mountain range near the South Pole make exploration there very difficult, if not impossible. The entire collection of mountains may be similar in size to the Alps in Europe, though they're frozen in the ice instead of soaring high above it. Their position as far as possible away from the ocean makes them an unexpected area for a civilization to form, unless there was a considerable amount of fresh water there at the time. If the crustal displacement theory is true, this could have been possible, and even support Plato's imagery of Atlantis being ringed by water. In 2016, an enigmatic screenshot from Google Earth depicted a set of near-perfect pyramids partially covered by snow, the peaks breaking through the snow. The debate whether it's a natural pyramid rages. Natural pyramid shapes are not impossible. Many peaks look like partial pyramids, but they only have one or two faces like that, rarely four. Travel to Antarctica is strictly monitored under the Antarctic Treaty, which claims to protect the continent for peace and scientific research. The 53 countries under the treaty conduct operations on or under the ice. Most of this work is carried out by the military. McMurdo Station, the U.S. base, has military personnel serving as staff and pilots, while New Zealand's nearby Scott base works with the New Zealand Defence Force. Antarctica's vast freezing emptiness has captured the imaginations of people for generations, and with most of the continent still untouched and the presence there concentrated densely to scientific bases, it's likely wide-ranging theories, scientific or historic, will continue to propagate for generations to come. Mysterious and strange Antarctic life forms. Although no physical evidence of alien life has yet been found in the ice of Antarctica, several other strange or misplaced life forms have been. Most scientists expected that any life down there in the frozen cold would be limited to penguins, seals and sea lions, whales and seabirds like the albatross who stick near the ocean shores. There's also tiny land invertebrates, insects, and krill in the water. In 2014, scientists discovered an ice-locked lake more than half a mile under solid ice. In the frigid, cold, dark, and airless waters, they were surprised to find over 4,000 different types of creatures thriving there. They're all extremely small and extremely specialized, but all part of a surviving ecosystem that works the same as in any other lake on Earth. Was this lake one of those indicated on the very early Piri-Reis map of Antarctica? Perhaps it supported a much more diverse ecosystem than it currently does. These questions and more like it are mere speculation among many researchers. However, when everything is taken together, the accumulation of scientific and esoteric knowledge presents a compelling possibility. The microscopic organisms are intriguing. They do little to support the idea of ancient civilization of humans or human-like beings. Evidence of a much warmer climate helps. Way back in the dinosaurs' age, it was one of the warmest times in existence. The ice caps had melted completely and rainforests covered much of the southern land. Amazing evidence of a warm Antarctica is clearly seen in the fossilized forest found on the frozen continent. Robert Falcon Scott, a great explorer of Antarctica who reached the South Pole in 1912, discovered fossils of diverse plant life in the Byrd Glacier. The sudden proof of trees and other plants that once thrived down there opened up a wealth of possibilities. Looking out at the miles and miles of snow, ice, and rocky crags makes it hard to imagine towering forests teeming with life once occupying that space. The scientific evidence throughout time clearly shows that climate has been widely varied everywhere on the planet for its entire existence. Admiral Byrd and Inner Earth. One of the most intriguing possibilities actually linked to actual discoveries was put forth by Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd, who famously explored parts of Antarctica from 1928 to 1956 with various expedition groups. A decorated naval officer and the youngest Rear Admiral ever in the U.S. Navy, he was seen as a highly respected and iconic person. While his exploration accomplishments are considerable, it's some of his unique theories that make him an interesting figure in conspiracy circles. Most notably is Admiral Byrd's hollow Earth theory. Although some dismiss it as science fiction, the reputation of this man assures many others that the claims he made were absolutely true. He claims to discover an entrance into the interior of Earth near the poles that led directly to a hollow space inside. Rumors of Byrd's secret diary that outlines more details about the hollow Earth and its entrances near the North and South poles add more fuel to the idea. Inside the planet, unbeknownst to people living on the surface, is said to contain glorious civilizations with advanced and possibly alien technology. Scientifically speaking, if the Earth was a solid sphere, temperatures closest to the pole would logically be the coldest. But in fact, temperatures at the poles are warmer than temperatures 1,000 miles away. The warm air convection current emanating from the polar openings obviously accounts for this difference. The colorful auroral displays at the poles have yet to be explained by the solid Earth scientists, yet are easily understood when ions pouring out from the polar openings collide with the solar ions in the Earth's magnetosphere, and the varying colors correspond with the various ionized gases: hydrogen, oxygen, helium, and nitrogen. Byrd's secret diary gives a lot of information about what Byrd did when he was near the poles and what he found there. He flew to the North Pole prior to his aforementioned South Pole excursions. Not only did he find the pole, but also a vast cavern that he could fly through. Instead of nothing but cold rocks, he wrote about a landmass with lush vegetation, flowing streams, and even humanoid inhabitants. They welcomed him and called him an emissary between their world and ours. Like with all extreme claims, the U.S. took measures to keep his discoveries hush-hush. Admiral Byrd's meeting with the president was kept a secret for many years. Natural researchers alike show widespread support for the hollow earth idea. The idea may seem too far-fetched for some, but with the supposed support of such a trusted, decorated, and respected member of the military and historic expeditions, who's to say what's true? What do we really know about Antarctica? The sheer vastness of Antarctica is stunning. Despite it being the fifth largest continent, containing 70% of the world's freshwater in its glacier, it remains largely unexplored, not to mention what lies beneath the ice. The documented discovery of Antarctica is somewhat ambiguous as far as crediting one person, but it's been generally accepted that it occurred around 1820. However, there have been alternating theories positing that the continent may have been discovered centuries earlier by ancient civilizations, possibly influenced by extraterrestrial technology. As we've already seen, the Piri-Reis map appears to show subglacial topography of Antarctica during a time of warm weather that harbored life. Science has proved the subglacial map topography. A study by scientists from LSU and Rice University found deposits of pollen fossilized in layers of sedimentary rock, showing signs of a tundra warm enough for plant growth as recently as 12 million years ago. However, theories focusing on the Piri-Reis map would suggest a warmer Antarctic climate much more recently. The Piri-Reis map and others couldn't possibly know Antarctica was there, let alone the prehistoric climate. The recent discovery of several four-sided pyramids has ignited another curiosity into Admiral Byrd's claims surrounding Antarctica. However, the distinctly shaped sides of each face are what alternative theories see as evidence of the pyramids being man-made. An additional dome-shaped structure protruding from beneath the ice has raised further questions and perpetuated the belief of an ancient civilization buried beneath. Conversely, during a naval expedition dubbed High Jump, Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd is purported to have been exposed to extraterrestrial technology. Some interpret Byrd's claim of seeing craft that are able to fly from one pole to the other with incredible speed as a UFO sighting, whereas others interpret it as a warning of the possibility of an attack from planes subversively flying over the poles to reach their targets without detection. However, both interpretations seem to hint at activity on Antarctica. Amazingly, the idea gets more support from compelling documentation nonetheless. Did Germany discover an interior Earth? Virtually all cultures throughout history, from ancient to modern times, have made references to an interior Earth and its inhabitants. A historical theme amongst ancient cultures is the belief that the interior Earth is the dwelling place for departed spirits. Gilgamesh, the king of Babylonian and Sumerian tradition, traveled to the belly of the earth to consult with his ancestor Utnapishtim. In Greek mythology comes Eurydice, who struggles in the underworld Hades, nearly rescued by her brave but not quite patient enough lover, Orpheus. Mongolian tribes believe that tunnels at the Earth's surface link to the subterranean world. Both Buddhism and Hinduism embrace the concept of the interior Earth, as both refer to Shambhala as the capital of the interior world. Writers attribute the Tibetan name Agartha, eerily like Agartha, to mean the underground kingdom at the interior of the earth. Speculation exists that in the early 20th century, Germany knew of a strange land called Agartha, as Byrd led expeditions to the poles during the period surrounding the 1940s. Groups from other countries supposedly went there as well. It's well known that Germans built Arctic bases to stake out land and test out various technologies. This era in Germany especially had a penchant for exploring the possibility of occult and esoteric ideas and abilities. Supposed maps of the Antarctic cave entrances and land within apparently show the routes Germans possessed to hide within the earth. Exactly how deep is another matter. Long hidden maps and secret diaries, environmental evidence and new discoveries of hidden ecosystems, and a collection of theories, researchers, and unexplained mysteries surround Antarctica. Did this now frozen continent once support dinosaurs, ancient civilizations, or alien beings? Do new satellite pictures show evidence of the places indicated on maps drawn before the continent was discovered? Does the land near the South Pole hold the secrets to Atlantis, or hide entrances to a hollow Earth? People continue to find the secrets hidden under the ice intriguing and inspiring. From the earliest explorers to current theorists and researchers, Antarctica has inspired curiosity for whatever mysterious secrets can be found in this frozen land. Antarctica's unusual burst of visitors may be a cover story. The list of the southern polar continent's visitors is beyond strange, and rumors they're investigating the buried civilization is rife. President Bill Clinton visited the Christchurch, New Zealand deep freeze base in that city and spoke via telephone to the American McMurdo base in Antarctica. Prince Harry's visit to the South Pole was a charity function for wounded soldiers. In 2013, Prince Harry joined one of 3 teams of wounded servicemen and women to trek to the geographic South Pole for Walking with the Wounded South Pole Allied Challenge. The 3 7-man teams from the UK, Commonwealth, and USA expedition to the geographic South Pole on the 13th of December. The teams of service personnel, all of whom have physical or cognitive injuries, represented and raised funds for military charities from the constituent nations. Due to the hostile conditions, this bizarre trip to Antarctica was to, quote, highlight the extraordinary courage and determination of the men and women who have been wounded while serving their countries, and to draw attention to the need to help in their career transition, end quote. There are literally hundreds of more effective means of raising awareness and funds where more press can be involved. The expedition happened, but what we see are bizarre excuses after reasons used to go there. King Juan Carlos and his queen making a little trek through the Straits of Magellan on a Chilean Navy vessel before the king fulfilled an ambition by visiting Antarctica in 2004. Russian Orthodox Patriarch of Moscow Kirill III visitor to bless an Orthodox chapel. During his brief visit to the Antarctic in February 2016, American actor Tom Hanks, who converted to Orthodoxy, specially visited the tiny temple built of wood before he married Rita Wilson. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, visitor to learn about climate change. Buzz Aldrin, Apollo 11 moon astronaut, visitor who tweets about getting ready to go to the launch pad, who then has to be evaluated and quarantined. Buzz Aldrin allegedly tweeted, "We're all in danger. It is evil itself," apparently about the alleged Pyramid Mountain found on the continent. Very clearly, the list exposes many people of high position, kings, a prince, a head diplomat, a couple of highly placed Germans during wartime, a U.S. admiral, an astronaut, and an Orthodox patriarch to the continent. Something is clearly going on, or more specifically, has something been discovered? Let's not forget that first X-Files movie, which had Agent Mulder trekking to Antarctica with the cigarette-smoking man hot on his trail behind him to rescue Agent Scully. Lo and behold, a massive UFO flying saucer hidden beneath the ice suddenly flies off. It's not the first time we see movies absorb speculation and alternative history. Has something been found down there? Something probably very ancient, something very sophisticated, or alien? There is the enormous structure found buried in Antarctica that measures more than 14 miles long and was discovered on Google Earth, has left people on the internet completely baffled and worried. Secret excavations underneath the ice of some unknown culture, unknown history, some unknown technology is most likely already well underway. Most of the population on Earth will likely never know what's truly going on down there due to the blockade of travel. The 14-mile structure may be an investigation site for archaeology purpose, protecting themselves from the elements. Spotted on the Google Earth map, the white blur deep in the barren continent has provoked speculation it could be a secret research station hidden by a government, or even more spectacular, a UFO buried in the ice. There are many research videos done on this subject showing how to find it yourself on Google Earth. The visual simply displays what looks like a building illuminated. Google Earth allows measuring, giving it as 14 miles long. Research is in the hands of anyone now. Antarctica is literally crawling with weirdness. From a speculative point of view, building a 14-mile structure there for whatever purpose would be easier than you think. The snow and ice could be melted for foundations and used as protective layering. The materials could be prefabricated elsewhere in kit form, as we do everywhere else on the globe. The major difference in Antarctica is the scale you can build at, with the snow and ice as an advantage rather than a hindrance. The giant 14.5 miles by 4.5 miles area of illuminated structure is so huge you can't miss it, not even from outer space. What makes people so irate is that nobody knows anything about it. The public has been silenced with a truth embargo, and the discovery of science and history there is only for a few. It's not that there's a peculiar place in the images where there happens to be a gap either that's been ruled out. Researchers have since pointed out brush-type movements over the mass, which suggests someone is trying to cover it up. Many claim the deck of a giant UFO mothership is buried under the ice, and this protective covering or shield is to protect the excavators and prying eyes. The X-Files movie scenario may well be a true story. Although the story broke in 2012 with a constant flow of intrigued researchers desperate to figure out what it is, some have noticed that there seems to be a trail behind the rectangular building shape, like it's been dragged. If it's a government facility, they can request Google to blur out things like this. It's thus probably a research facility or excavation site. The question is, then, why the secrecy? All the research and science there is secretive, with headlines being released to us when they see fit, if at all. Google Earth photographs have revealed two large openings at the surface that some say lead to underground tunnels and subglacial rivers flowing in an environment supporting temperatures of 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. The verdict is still out whether this subglacial aquifer system was formed naturally or whether a human footprint inside these expansive inner chambers and underground caverns reveal a vast comprehensive network of tunnels, bases, possible cities, or even extraterrestrial UFO bases. Russian UFO researcher Valentin Degtyarev found in 2015 yet another strange image on the February 2012 Google Earth that appears to be 4 tanks covered in snow, lined up facing what could be a crashed 204-foot wide and 40-foot tall UFO. Nearly every day there are unusual breakthrough stories emanating from Antarctica. There are examples after examples, too numerous to mention, photo after photo depicting some weird anomaly. The last thing to ponder is the most recent high strangeness emanating from Antarctica. This time, not a story. It's a weird particle emanating from underneath the ice in Antarctica that's literally rewriting physics. Physicists have detected something so mysterious coming from Antarctica's frozen ground, some sort of cosmic ray, a light energy particle that's blasted its way through space into the Earth. The high strangeness is that the collection of particles, commonly known as Standard Model (SM) of particle physics, do not have anything like this property. Though some low-energy neutrinos travel miles without rocks being affected, but high-energy neutrinos, as well as high-energy particles, which have large cross-sections, in other words, they will always crash into something soon after entering Earth's atmosphere, will never make it out of our planet to the other side. Hence, the mystery of these particles emanating from Antarctica continues. Headlines are stating these particles will rewrite what we think about physics. Thanks for watching. Leave a like and hit the bell button to stay notified of the very latest documentaries.